Can you believe that Aspen home sales were up 75% this past month? This is David Buck with Christie's International Real Estate, and today we're going to talk about the housing stats from Aspen, Basalt, Carbondale, all the way down throughout the Roaring Fork Valley for December of 2025. First off, we're going to dive into Aspen. So as I started this off, you can see that Aspen home sales were up 75% in December, going from 4 transactions in December of 24 to 7 this past month. Meanwhile, that median sales price dipped 38.3%. That went from $15.4 million to $9.5 million. Aspen condo sales were also up, going from 12 to 13 transactions, and that was an 8.3% increase. And the median sales price was actually up 56.3%, going from $3,507,500 to $5.5 million. Okay, next up, we're going to talk about Basalt. Home sales in Basalt were slower, going from 5 transactions to 3 this past month. That was a 40% drop. And meanwhile, we also saw a 40% drop as far as the median home price goes in Basalt. That was going from 3.7 million to $2.2 million. As far as condos and townhomes go in Basalt, that was a silver lining in the sense there was a 166.7% increase, and that was going from 3 sales to 8 sales. However, that median sales price dropped 34.8%. That was going from $1,495,000 to $974,000. Okay, now let's dive into Carbondale. Carbondale saw home sales increase 22.2%. That was going from 9 sales to 11 this past month. However, the median home price in Carbondale dropped 33.7%. That was going from $2,150,000 to $1,425,000. As far as condo sales go in Carbondale, they're relatively flat. They're literally flat, with 4 transactions in December of 24 as well as this past month. However, that median sales price for condos increased 131.8%. That was going from $1,094,500 to $2,537,500. Next up is going to be Glenwood Springs. Glenwood Springs saw home sales dip slightly, going from 7 sales to 6. That was a 14.3% decrease. However, that median home price in Glenwood Springs had a nice bump up 33.5%, going from $749,000 to $1 million this past month. As far as condo sales go in Glenwood Springs, there was a 125% increase. That was going from 4 transactions to 9 this past month. However, that price dipped a little bit, went from $552,500 to $495,000, which is a 10.4% decrease in median condo price. Now we're going to cover Missouri Heights. Well, there's not much to report in Missouri Heights as there were no home sales nor any condo sales this past month. There was a few that took place in December of 24, so everything was down basically 100% in that there was no transactions to report. Okay, let's talk about Old Snowmass next. Old Snowmass also isn't known for a lot of sales volume. However, there was one deal that took place. So that was a 50% drop from last year where there were 2 transactions. That median sales price is down 53.4%. A year ago, that median sales price was $6,650,000, whereas this past month it was just at $3.1 million. What this did not take into account was the monastery that sold in Old Snowmass this past month for a whopping $120 million. That wasn't reported, for single family homes per se, because it was a ranch with a lot of acreage. I did a little video on that if you want to take a look. And once again, in Old Snowmass, there's not much in the way of condos. So now we're going to move on. Now let's dive into Snowmass Village. Snowmass Village also didn't see much in the way of home sales. There was 1 transaction that took place, which was down 50% from a year ago. And also that median home price in Snowmass Village dropped dramatically. It was down 54.1%. A year ago, it was $10.5 million. And this past month, there was one deal that took place at $4,820,270. However, the condo market saw a little more transactions, but not as many as we'd like to see. Those dropped 57.1% from a year ago, going from 7 transactions to 3. We also saw a dip in that median condo price in Snowmass Village going from 1,472,500 to $1,050,000. And last but not least, we're going to cover Woody Creek here. Similar to Missouri Heights, Woody Creek didn't have any transactions that took place this month, nor were there any in December of 2024. Now that's a wrap for the housing stats of December of 2025. If you have specific questions about any neighborhoods here in the Roaring Fork Valley, my name is David Buck with Christie's International. Once again, I can be reached at 808 371 3509. Aloha.